Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for clicking on this video. So today I thought I'd talk to you about my favorite travel camera setup and what I like to bring with me when I am traveling and on the go. I really like to travel light, so I usually only have one lens on me, maybe a max of two if I feel like I can be bothered to pack another one with me. So what I'm looking for in my lens is something that is really versatile and something that can sort of really do it all. Now I travel with the Sony full frame A7C II camera and I prefer to bring this one with me over my APS-C camera because I find that it's a bit more versatile in low light because of the bigger sensor. The images that come out when the lighting situation isn't ideal, when there's no lighting at all, is usually better than what the A6400 can do. I like to carry my camera in a way that's really easy to access, so usually it's right in front of me and I can quickly grab it out and snap a photo, which means that I usually can't be bothered changing lenses. So it's really important for me that I pick a lens that is versatile and can sort of do it all and capture the images or sometimes even video to a quality that I'm satisfied with. Now when it comes to prime lenses or zoom lenses, I've traveled using both exclusively, and my conclusion from those experiences is that my preferred lens for travel is this 35mm 1.8 by Sony. So this is just, I think, their normal lens. It's not a fancy G Master, but I think this lens takes absolutely beautiful images that are super sharp. The fact that it can open up all the way to 1.8 means that I can get really beautiful background blur, but also it makes it very useful for, again, low light situations when I want to take photos at night. Those images come out really beautiful. And the reason for this is when I look at photos that I've taken using a zoom lens versus photos that I've taken using this lens, I always gravitate towards and really appreciate the photos that are taken on this lens. But to be fair, I've only ever used a variable aperture zoom lens and I've never used a fixed aperture zoom lens. So I think one day I will test that out and see how it performs compared to this 35mm prime lens. Although you can get much more choice in focal length when using a zoom lens, I find that zoom lenses are generally heavier and bulkier than, say, a prime lens. And actually the prime lens isn't that bad. You do get two focal lengths with this one. I find that I can use this in 35mm when I'm in full frame mode, or I can crop in to APS-C mode and actually get a 52.5mm focal length. So that actually gives me some choice in focal lengths. I do get to punch in and get that little bit more zoomed in if I need to. The reason why I like the 35mm focal length so much is because I find that it's wide enough to capture the context and the environment of where the subject is, but it's not so wide that it starts to give your photo that fishbowl-y effect that I find once you go below 24mm, that sort of starts to happen with the wide lens. Personally, just as a personal preference, I just prefer the look of a 35, and a 35 is sort of as wide as I will go for when I'm out and about and taking photos. And like a billion other travelers, I do like to take photos of my food, and using a 35mm focal length on a full frame camera is much easier to take photos of your food, especially when you're on a table, versus if you are carrying a 50mm or an 85mm lens. I also find 35mm incredibly versatile because you can get away with taking portraits using 35mm, or you can punch in into APS-C crop mode and get that 52.5mm focal length. I also find that it's very useful to have a wide lens when you're traveling, because if you're in a situation when you're indoors a lot, the 35mm is just wide enough so that you don't need to get up and give yourself lots of space between you and what you want to take a photo of. So with the food example that I just mentioned, if I am on a 35mm lens, I don't need to stand up to take a photo of the food that's on the table, whereas if I have a 50mm prime lens, then it is really zoomed in, and I find that I have to just stand up and move the camera further away in order to get the composition that I like. And although I think that portrait photos look a lot nicer on the 50mm lens, 50mm is often just slightly too tight for me to use in my everyday on the go travel situations. And I often lose a lot of the shots that I want because I don't have enough space between me and the thing that I want to take a photo of, and so I miss out on those photo opportunities. But I will say, if you are intending to do a lot of street photography when you're traveling and you want to be inconspicuous and not be pointing a camera right in people's faces, the 50mm and the 85mm are definitely better suited to that situation. For my situation, I'm usually taking photos of family and friends who are right next to me, so I don't need to be far away from them. And so the 35mm is definitely the best fit for me. This lens is also really sharp for videos. It's sharp enough for me. I'm usually just taking little vloggy clips for social media, or even just for a record for our family to watch later. I can actually even do smaller adjustments with the focal length using the in-body stabilization function on this camera body. So for example, if I throw the camera into active stabilization, I actually get a little bit of further reach, and versus if I just have the stabilization on standard. I'm pretty sure also with certain lenses you can do a power zoom, a clear image zoom, and even if you're on a prime lens, and so that actually gives it a bit more versatility than you would otherwise think when you are using a fixed focal length. And so there you have it. That is my favorite travel camera setup that I go to time and time again when I am out and about. So it is the Sony a7C II paired with the Sony 35mm f1.8 lens. That's pretty much it for this video. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.